Looks like I'm the only one.
Yeah.
There it
Hey,
is.
this is Byron Summerdahl with Ackland Avenue, and I'm here with some members of our team and our CEO, Colin Callahan. Say hi, Colin.
Hello.
And looks like we got Renee and Richard. And well, today I just wanted to show off a little product that I've been working on this week. Um, and it tries to solve a problem that we've been detecting. One of the things, just to give you a little background, one of the things that we have said in the past that we want to do is to get into acceptance test-driven development. And that sounds awesome, and the benefits are absolutely huge. But for some reason, or for several reasons that I think I've tried to identify, it's just hard. And what we found is the tests, when we're writing these tests, a lot of times we'll have to write them in Selenium, and so we're going at this from a C# angle. So we're writing C# stuff that's trying to use Selenium to open browsers and control the browser from the perspective of C#, and then also assert on the responses that we get back. And there's a lot of things that come with that. That even though it's very possible, it can be done. A lot of times the tests are brittle. There's a lot of extra code to maintain, and it's extremely hard to get them integrated with continuous integration. So, and also, if our QA, you've got to be a pretty close to senior developer, or somebody that's got a lot of patience to be actually writing these tests in C# that hit Selenium. There's just so much that goes into it. So I'll just show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'm sorry for the dogs barking in the background. It's just not getting. There's a new horse next to my house. So this is a test written in the Cucumber style of acceptance test writing, and you've got a feature up here, and you've got some background, and you've got a scenario where we're going to create a user. Now, and this is using SpecFlow, so every one of these given, when, and then have some code that back these. So this is the registration feature. We're going to go to the registration. No. User can register steps. And so each one of those scenario lines maps to a binding here that it maps to one of these C# classes, or methods, excuse me. And so this particular one I have navigated to the registration page is just going to use some C# code, and it's going to try to new up a registration page object, and then it's going to go to the page. So if we look at this registration page object, again, we can see a lot of code. It's all necessary. And so this code is actually working right now. I could run this test, and it'll open up a browser, and it'll actually fill out that form and try to register a new user. There's just a lot of code here, though. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's enough to make us as developers maybe shy away from doing this. And as we know, anytime anytime there's something new that we need to adopt into our process, if things are there that are making it difficult, adding friction, a lot of times we try to figure out reasons why not to do it. And it's not because of laziness; it's just because everybody's got some sort of pressure that's being applied, some sort of something that we want to be able to get through a feature. Maybe that's pressure that we put on ourselves. But either way, we find a way not to do it. So with that problem having been presented, let me introduce to you a new idea called Pepino. And Pepino is cucumber in Spanish, and so let's just call it code name Pepino, because who knows what name this will eventually take permanently. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in.
I like Pepino.
Okay, good. I mean, if it works, it works. I spent all of 5 minutes trying to make this UI look okay. So there's a lot of little things that I don't like about the UI. It's not a finished product. This is a proof of concept. I just wanted to get something kind of in the in the screen so that I can show it off. I'm going to start off by just deleting that project. I don't want that project to be in there. Another disclaimer is that there are a few times when I'm going to have to refresh the browser to actually make it do what I need it to do. So I'm going to create a new project, and I'm just going to call this Star Screen. And this is actually, I don't know if it's interesting or not, but this is using CQRS. There's actually another server that's actually running the commands. So the application is hitting a server that's providing it database access just to throw something on the screen, but to actually run its commands, it's going out to a different server, which is represented here in this black box. So this is just showing all the in-hibernate SQL statements that are getting run. And this black box shows us the commands coming in from the queue. There's a queue at ironmq that when the UI sends a command to the dispatcher, it actually sends it as a JSON object to ironmq, which is in some data center somewhere in Texas probably. And then ironmq then turns around and sends that same command to any one of hundreds of possible servers. I only have one running at the moment, so all the commands get sent back to this server. It just so happens that it's on the same computer, just for demo purposes, but this is pretty close to being able to be deployed to multiple worker servers. That actually comes in handy in just a moment. So with this, there's a hierarchy here. There's projects, and then there's stories. I'm going to create a story. So log in. All right. So then we've got the login story, and
That's the
then
normal user story, right, Byron?
yeah, like a user story. And then each user story is going to have scenarios, and the user story is actually kind of a little bit broader than what we normally go for, because a scenario would be login. Sorry, a story in this case would be login. User can log in, but then there's scenarios like acceptance criteria. So successful login. This is something that a customer could be doing, or a QA engineer could be doing this, or a product owner, or a scrum master, or devs could do all of this. And so then another scenario would be unsuccessful login. And so we could share the load on this if we were using this tool together. So then in successful login, we've got we're in a scenario. So I'm going to add a new criterion, and I had to look that up because I'm not good with Latin, but I can add a given. So given a site visitor, and I'm actually not going to fill all this out. I just wanted to kind of show some of this stuff working. But if I go into the given visitor, then I can add a step. And so this is where we start getting into the actual browser automation. So I can go to, let's see, what is the URL for Star Screen Starter? Yeah, we'll just do that. All right, so I can go here, paste that into the navigate, and create that step. So then we've got our given a successful or a site visitor. So the navigate is going to navigate the browser to this URL. So then I'm going to go back to the successful login. I'm going to add another criterion that is a when logging in with what do you call that? Logging in with valid username and password. I haven't coded anything yet. I'm actually just using a user interface. Now this is not even the most exciting part yet, but then it should. What's going to happen after I log in with Starscream? It should show me the home page. So then I'm going to add a step for the filling in the form. So I'm going to enter some text into the input that is of type email, and I'm just using CSS selectors here. And I'm going to enter test at test.com. And then I'm going to add another step to enter text into the input of type password. Oops. And that is password, just so happens. And then I'm going to click a button. Click the button of type submit. Okay. I've got a breakpoint, so I'm going to get rid of that. Forget you saw that. Okay, so I've got my my when, and that's also an error. So forget you saw that. I'm going to add a step for this. I'm going to say that the there's an element. I'm going to say that the body element should contain welcome. I'm not sure it does. It probably doesn't. All right, so I've
Can you
got
say, Byron? Can you say at this point that it should navigate to a certain URL?
Not yet. But I can add that in 5 minutes. With this architecture, I can add new assertions or new steps pretty easily. In fact, I added one just before the demo, just for being able to observe that a certain element has a certain class. Okay, so I've got my story. I've got this successful login story. Forget that this is passing. It shouldn't be passing. So I'm going to click this play button. The play button is going to disappear, and then you're going to see a browser window open. The browser opening is because of the command that was received by my command processing server. So it just so happens that it's on the same machine. So ignore that it's on the same machine. So there's our browser window. It's going to navigate to our Starscream site. It's going to very quickly enter a username and password and press the login button, and then let's see the results. It's not unsuccessful, it's the successful. All right, so it passed this one. It passed this one. No exceptions, no unexpected things happened. And then this one, it failed. Why did it fail? So drill in, and it says that the step failed because the element did not contain the given text. So I'm actually gonna populate a sample project called Project Wall. So there's a project wall. It's got two scenarios. Both scenarios are already filled in with all their steps, and they're basically all they're doing is registering a user, happy path, and then invalid email. So I'm going to run the happy path. And it's going to go to project wall, and it's going to try to register a user. And I'm going to refresh to show that it passed. All right. This can be wired up with SignalR at some point, and then we've got more real-time responses. This one's going to try to register without a valid email, and it got it happened really fast. We want these tests to run as fast as possible, but it basically put the invalid tag on the input, and that's why it passed. So that is Pepino in its current state. Questions?
Yay!
Was that a question?
No, I mean, you said that there are already some frameworks out there that do this, right?
Yeah, there are some things, some services that are doing this right here. I think I've always found some sort of shortcoming as far as like as a programmer, what do I want out of this? I want to be able to hook it up to my CI, which, you know, if we're creating this ourselves, then we should be able to hook it up to a CI or do whatever we want to with it.
Yeah.
But also like to be able to share the results of these tests with a client, so that a client could maybe they could watch the progress of a project over time and see things start turning green as they start passing. Lots of things. Like I think that the other solutions that are out there weren't built with the idea of ATDD. they weren't written from that perspective. So they like running tests on a schedule or running them every time things are checked in. That's kind of like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And for us, I think we can make it a first-class citizen. I think we can also offer this, I would think, at a lower price than some of the other places. There's one in particular is Sauce Labs. It's like $200 a month for 30 hours of running. And I mean, I want to run this every time I check code in.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I mean, I'm going to run through 30 hours in a couple days. So.
Well, I mean, I love it. I love the idea, and yeah, I think that if it's missing stuff that you obviously feel will just make our lives better as programmers, then yeah, I love that too. So keep it up. My vote is keep it up.
Renee, do you see how this would help your project?
Yeah, I think so. It's like the way that where the project manager can see their tests, right, in a
Yeah.
visible way. My concern is about these specs will be created by developers, I guess, right? It will not be created by the developers, or it we thinking by who?
Well, I suppose that could be up in the air because since it doesn't require any actual programming right now to write a test, then I suppose a non-developer could create tests.
I think that, first of all, that's a great question, Renee. I think that we should try it with a couple of different roles. I mean, we should probably at some point hand this over to Nathaniel and see if how intuitive it is for him to write stuff, and then we reach out to some other people to see how well it works for them as well. Definitely developers. We want to make sure it's developer friendly in case we decide not to go down that path of having our project managers write stuff or product owners writing things. Although maybe that would be ideal if it was just the product owners writing all of that stuff.
Could be.
Could be.
What I was thinking was that one of the things that we want to be able to do with ATDD is for people to be able to put in acceptance criteria, and then it start not failing necessarily, but start not giving a green light, like giving a yellow light, like this is not finished yet. And even though it has actually no steps, like we're not telling it to automate the browser yet, there is automated acceptance criteria that's running. And so then as programmers finish a piece, what they could actually do is go into this system and fill in the browser automation part, because they would be the ones that know about the different fields in the form, how they're supposed to work. So it would give the product owner or the QA engineers even the ability to add acceptance criteria to the project, but then have developers come in later and fill in the automation part.
Yeah.
Which is something we're missing right now because Nathaniel can't get in to our spec flow tests and add acceptance criteria. He doesn't have that.
True.
Yeah, I have another question about. I was seeing when you are creating the scenarios, the criterion, and I see when I think in spec flow, I think allow to the user don't write too much, right? Just select something or click in something, right? But what about if the user didn't know the element types, something like that? For example, could be something more like a bottom to choose what kind of type he want to test, something like that.
Yeah.
So
almost like a
SCSS
selector builder or something like that to help the user build the CSS selector.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good idea.
But that is not hardcode to the project, right? It's
What do you
not
mean?
by ID. I mean,
Well, it would be IDs if the project has IDs in the HTML. So if a button has an ID, then that would be the easiest way to select it. But if, like I was doing with the login form, those form elements don't actually have IDs, but they have types that are unique. But if we're talking about a registration form, not every field is unique. Not every field is like there might be a tell me about yourself form. In that case, it's just a text field, and so it's harder to select on. But that can be done with CSS, or we could use XPath, or we could give other options, or we could
and
just require the developers to use IDs.
yeah, I have another question. My last
Okay.
question. This feature is not planning to replace our normal specs, right?
These are automated acceptance tests, so they're much higher level than our unit tests. So our unit tests are getting in and doing the very small, minute behavior, but the acceptance test is at the highest level, actually going to the browser. So it's going to be hitting everything from the browser down to the database. Whereas our unit tests they're mocking their dependencies, and they're working with just very small pieces of functionality.
So that's what you was talking about what we think about the AATs, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was trying at that point. I was still trying to figure out what were the problems. What problems do we need to solve? Because I really think that AATs. I think that it's the way to go. It's just that creating these AATs in C# is a pain.
Yeah, and I got another doubt. This project is hard is just work with Chrome or whatever Explorer we.
That's another good question. As I was building it, I had to actually hard code Chrome into it, but that's a one-liner. I could we could configure the scenarios to run on multiple browsers. That would be a scenario setting, I think. So we could set up some defaults, or maybe we just always run on all browsers that we have available. That's a possibility.
So
Or
Byron,
if the client says, well, we want to support all major browsers and IE 7 and up, then we could maybe configure the project to use those browsers. That would probably be a good level to do it at. Go ahead, Colin.
this seems like something that you should also talk to Camilo about, just to see how this fits into the process, and and Nathaniel as well. At some point, just figuring out when do you write these, and when do you run them. When does it make sense to run them, and just figuring out that process, of how to keep things flowing and keep things kind of light.
Yeah, good idea. Anything else? Richard Javier. Que peros.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine.
think that it's a great idea. I have seen something like that before in Rails, and I think that would be great if we can get closer to a natural language. For example, when you are selecting an input or something like that, um,
Mm.
maybe it's better for someone that who doesn't know HTML or doesn't know too much about selectors and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I think a good improvement would be in the user interface. Maybe instead of adding, yeah, by going to the next page and adding manually, you can
Yeah.
do something like a drag and drop, and just to ease the user interface, just give and
Yeah.
drop that stuff.
Yeah, I considered like putting more things on one page. Like right now, everybody has its own basically, and it's just a lot of like drilling down. So not a very good user interface at all.
Yeah,
Stop
and
hating
also
on my user interface.
also other users might be the QA people. Like they come
Yeah.
up with a few scenarios that they want to test that aren't even they're not even things that we have user stories for, but they're just things that people might do that could break things. So
Yeah. I also thought about the possibility of using this with load testing. We could mark some scenarios as load testing
yeah,
and like have it run those scenarios just like crazy. That'd be pretty cool.
oh yeah, cool man.
Well, maybe someday this will become a real product and we can actually put some dev resources on it. But
Yeah,
I have a feeling Nathaniel and Colin are going to make us finish some things first.
I want a gift hub.
Yep.
I have a question.
Go for it.
This is not supported for a local environment, right? Just for
I'm running it locally.
deploy the environment.
I'm running it locally right now, and I suppose that's possible.
Yeah.
But I think my vision was to get this up into the cloud and actually let the worker run in its own VM so that it can run out of band. We don't have to have it running on our own machines. And that also means that we can let other services cooperate, or no, not cooperate, communicate with Pepino. Like a CI can can turn on tests from Pepino's API or something like that. So there's a lot of benefit in having it in the cloud. Cool. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
For me.
I suggest that we could maintain the name of the project.
You suggest we change the name?
No, keep the name.
You don't.
He
You
said
want to keep the
maintain
name.
it. He wants to keep it.
Maintain it. Okay.
I like Pepino.
Pepino forever. Okay. Pepino por siempre. Okay. That's my Mexican accent.
Yeah, that was pretty Mexican.
Thanks, man. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for letting me
guys.
show off.
Adios.
Bye bye.